Hi and good evening, and welcome to our 14th and final session of The Between. So yeah, this is, as ever, The Between is a PBTA game of Gothic Monster Hunters in Victorian London. This is by Jason Cordova, published as part of the Gauntlet, this game has been arranged through the Gauntlet gaming community as well. We have an online calendar where you can kind of sign up to play games like this one. We also have a number of podcasts. We have a gaming magazine called Codex. We have forums, all that sort of stuff. You can find information on all of that at the website, which is gauntlet-rpg.com. I'll put a link to that down below. So yeah, as I said, this will be our final session this evening. It's been a very good fun run. So I'm glad to have been playing with all of you. But we will just for one last time have a quick intro and recapping of what happened last time, and then we'll sort of leap straight into things. So I will start off as ever with yourself, Jose, if you'd like to. If you'd like to start off introducing yourself and telling us a bit about what you got up to last time.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jose, and my pronouns are he and him, and I'm playing Lady Camilla. Her pronouns are she and her. And last time, I think, was taken up largely, well, we had some lovely interactions as Miss Priyanka Balakwa returned from their sojourn on the coast, revitalized, hopefully, maybe not as much as we'd hoped. And so we had some nice scenes in Hargrave House welcoming them back. And then the big action was going to Kilburn Abbey to try to deal with the demon there, where I believe we gathered all the sisters and brothers of the Abbey, and Priyanka led us through a ritual for, Alois, I believe, attempted to contain the demon, while Priyanka led the ritual for banishing it. All very exciting. That's what I remember.
Brilliant, thank you very much. And yeah, Elle, if you'd like to go next.
Yeah, I'm Elle. My pronouns are she, her. I'm playing Fujisawa, the factotum, also she, her. And last time, Fujisawa helped to welcome Priyanka back from their convalescence in the countryside. Fujisawa also took that opportunity to sort of draw a line in the sand regarding her role as Priyanka's servant and as a resident and hunter of Hargrave House. And at night, while the hunters were dealing with the demon, Fujisawa had a meeting with Lord Fauconberg's, I guess, right hand, Andrew Baird, who we now know is amassing some kind of military force in preparation to support Fauconberg's plans. And she tried to plant a seed of doubt in Baird regarding his role in this new world that Fauconberg is trying to bring about. I think that's it.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. Thank you very much. And Daryl.
Hello. My name is Daryl, and my pronouns are they, them, and I am playing the vessel Priyanka Balakwa, whose pronouns are they, she. And Priyanka is not doing very well after returning from their convalescence on the seaside to find that their servant was no longer their servant, and finding that their prayers are suddenly somehow bringing all sorts of baser sins and impulses to the people they pray about. There's a lot of tension with Priyanka about where their religious ideologies fit in, how virtuous and true they really are as to how they believe themselves to be. And one would describe Priyanka as like a woman on the verge of a near nervous breakdown and or bringing about the apocalypse. So that's where Priyanka is right now.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And last but not least, Brian.
Yeah, I'm Brian, he, him, playing Professor Eloise Cockburn, also he, him, the Acolyte. And the only thing I would add is that Lady Camilla took advantage of the lingering effects of the Dionysian spirit on Eloise to get him liquored up, and I guess got him to confess that his loyalties are split, although no more details beyond that.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much. So yeah, as at the end of last session, we introduced our final threat, the mastermind threat. Lord Fauconberg's former muse, Darius, informed you of Lord Fauconberg's plans to what's what I'm looking for? To remake London, England, and the world, perhaps, in his own image. He is performing a ritual in the Palace of Westminster, drawing upon the power of the fragrant void as channeled through the Whately camera, to bring about his ritual that will kind of in some way bend the world to his whim. We have the a couple of questions here. So the first one is a threshold question, which is kind of determining which way which way is the easiest to disrupt the ritual. So that question is, yeah, which will Lucian's ritual be more vulnerable to disruption, in the Palace of Westminster or in the Fragrant Void? Depending on which of those answers you choose, that will basically set your final question up. If you do go down the Fragrant Void route, then you will have to venture into the Fragrant Void in order to continue investigating and gathering clues. You will not be able to continue doing that in the real world from that point on. The second question is, what fatal flaw has Lucian left in his planning for the ritual, and how can you exploit it to get the drop on him? This is if you sort of go down the Palace of Westminster route. That will allow you to resolve the threat by gaining access to the Palace of Westminster and physically disrupting the ritual. That has a complexity of 4. So the first question has a complexity of 2. And then the third question is, if you go down the Fragrant Void route, where must you travel to in the Fragrant Void, and what must you sacrifice to end the ritual? Which will allow you to resolve the threat by disrupting the ritual and drawing Lucian in for a final confrontation in the void. And that has a complexity of 2. So that's kind of where you stand with regards to the threat itself. And where we left things sort of fictionally was in that morning when Darius had delivered this news to you. So as I mentioned, we won't be kind of doing like the full day-night cycle for this part of the for this final threat. But I am going to start off with the usual question of what would you like to do? Are there any places in particular you are interested in investigating? How do you see your path ahead? Is there anything else you want to get up to? So yeah, I'll just go in order again. So Lady Camilla, any thoughts from you on what you might like to get up to in the first instance?
I have a question about what you just reviewed for us about the threat.
Yes, certainly.
If we answer the first question as the fragrant void,
Yep.
does that mean that immediately we can't do any investigating in the city, and we have to go straight to the void? Or are you saying that once we find a way into the void, then we can't do any investigating in the city?
Yeah, so basically, if you go down that route of if you answer that you have to sorry, get my words in order. So yeah, if you answer that you do need to go into the fragrant void to pursue him, yeah, basically on answering that question, then you will need to sort of travel into the fragrant void after that.
Immediately.
To continue.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it forecloses any other investigations within the within the city.
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct.
And so I mean, I've never done this before. So once in the fragrant void, will there be a way of investigating and gathering clues?
Yes, there will be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right, thanks. In terms of what to do, I think I'm just going to suggest that we try to resolve that first question immediately, maybe, if people are open to it, because that'll guide what happens next. If we're going into the void or going to the Palace of Westminster or staying in the city. And I don't know if people have feelings about that, but I'm just curious.
I just want to clarify something. So, the last time I tried to enter the fragrant void, I would have been wiped off of the face of existence itself. And so I am assuming that this is going to operate a little bit more like a final dungeon a la Persona, where like there will be like areas to investigate and NPCs to interact with, rather than, just nuking me from life itself.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You also may want to give some consideration about how you might be venturing into the fragrant void, but we can kind of cover that as and when. But yeah.
I'm down to try answering that first question now, if others are.
Yeah.
Same.
We do all have at least one condition, so we might want to consider a vulnerable scene or two in preparation, because they may be hard to come by in the fragrant void.
Yeah. If people want to have some vulnerable scenes, that's cool. But yeah. I will throw that over to yourselves to determine. Yeah, if anyone does want to have any vulnerable scenes, or what those scenes will be if you do.
Fujisawa, would you like to help unlock my door?
Gladly.
Yeah, so I think that for when it comes my turn, I'll probably want to do a vulnerable scene with Fujisawa, to talk through that and talk through some of our other lingering problems, and maybe make some forward momentum on this relationship.
Excellent. Yeah, that sounds good. So yeah, I guess Lady Camilla, Professor, are you up for a vulnerable scene as well?
Sure.
That makes most sense, I think. Cool. Yeah. In which case, we'll kick off, I think, with Fujisawa and Priyanka, if you would like to have your scene. And obviously, as well, do remember you can also come up with clues as part of this if you choose. So that's another option you have on the table. But yeah, by all means, go ahead. And so that how you think the scene is going to come about.
Daryl, do you want to frame the scene?
Sure. Okay. Well, this is going to take place. I think this is taking place late at night. This is like right after we have vanquished the demon of Kilburn Abbey, and I have retreated to my regular chapel. Not the other chapel. I've gone back to my chapel, and so and I think that I don't know, like something probably, you probably just like came here via intuition or something. I'm sure that I didn't like actually reach out or anything, or maybe you heard from the others that I hadn't come home yet. There's only one place Priyanka could be. So I think that find me, um, you find me like quietly sobbing behind the pulpit, nursing a bottle of sacramental wine.
Excellent, excellent.
I think that Fujisawa enters quietly, because of course she thinks you're going to be praying. And I think she sort of pauses at the like far end of the pews when she sees you kind of like doubled over, crying. Almost as though like she doesn't want to spook you by getting too close. Miss Palakwa, this seems like a foolish question, but is everything all right?
We're just gonna lean in. Priyanka jerks with a start and spills some of the red wine down the side of their pure white dress, and like glares at you. It is the most uninhibited emotion that you have ever seen leveled at you from them, and says, I thought you weren't in my employ anymore. You don't have to pretend that you care about me.
Fujisawa looks like you just slapped her in the face. I was never pretending. I didn't. I just didn't know how to express it when I was supposed to be taking orders from you. And she's kind of walking towards you slowly. You really think I don't care? That I've stuck around for all of these years because you're paying me so well?
Priyanka sees you taking steps closer and then actually also stands and like backs away from you, like going further up the aisle, still glaring at you, and says, what else could it be? I mean, you didn't come with me to the coast when I was ill most recently. You've spent so much time with Lady Camilla, whom I'm sure is a much more interesting person to follow around. You seem to be very cozy with the professor. And yet here you are just, letting me go off on my own.
I'm sorry, I thought you wanted to be alone. I can assure you there's no person on this earth that's more interesting than you are.
Fujisawa, you of all people should know that I have always been alone. Since my mother died, since my uncle put me in those schools, I've not had anyone. What, you think that I would enjoy that? The tears are like freely streaming from her face now.
You've always had those entities, though, the ones that never quite leave you, do they? And like as she says that, you can see like in the stream of light from the window that's like kind of passing behind Fujisawa, you see like kind of an after image of her. In like I think Fujisawa is wearing like a blue kimono, so perhaps the after image has a yellow one, like bright yellow, like the sun. I I could never tell whether you found their presence comforting or frightening or both. Perhaps I have been afraid to be alone with you and them. I knew that they'd never let me have you to myself. I'm sorry, it's very embarrassing to say all this.
They're not warm, Fujisawa. They're always there, but they're not warm. I'm sorry that I have been so cold, but it is because I have been cold for a very long time. Of course, I could never be a companion to my companion. One must be warm and genial, and one must be pleasant to be around, and I am none of those things. And Priyanka slumps down on the stairs leading up to the pulpit and just lets their head fall into their arms and starts to sob. And I think while this is happening, the candles in the chapel are starting to blow out, almost as if the shadows that are pouring out of me are trying to make the room darker.
I think by now Fujisawa is drawing quite close, and she will kind of kneel in front of Priyanka, almost like in a posture of prayer. But instead of putting her hands together, she reaches out to sort of lift Priyanka's face so that she can see it in the dim light. You're not warm, but neither am I. I think perhaps we could find some warmth together.
Priyanka raises their hands and laces their fingers between yours around their face, and just for the first, you see darkness rippling in their eyes, almost as if the dark forces inside them are fighting to reassert dominance, fighting to say the things that would push you away. And they just clear up for a very brief, vivid moment, and they grow wide. And they say, "Please don't leave me." And a tear rolls down their face.
I won't. Ever, for as long as you want me around. And I'm already haunted, Priyanka. If you need to, you can share your demons with me. I'll help shoulder the burden. Whatever you need. And I think Fujisawa is sort of lingering very, very close to Priyanka's face, not wanting to be the one that closes the distance.
Priyanka's also desperately not wanting to be the one to close the distance, and says, pretty much says, is still afraid, still not sure that this is really what your words are saying are really matching what is in their heart, and says, "Not all of my demons are literal. I don't want you to be tainted by the things that make me dirty."
I gave up a long time ago on being clean. And fuck it, Fujisawa's gonna kiss her.
Yes, that's what I wanted. Yeah, so oh my gosh, so yeah, their lips touch, and like all of the candles in the cathedral just like flare up again. Um, and like for the first time, Priyanka feels what it's like to feel warm as she like leans into the kiss.
Is that where we should leave it?
Yeah, I feel like we can cut it like right there. Camera
Yeah,
like
yeah.
swings up, like stained glass window moment, you know. Cut to Jesus.
Excellent, excellent. So I feel like this this probably we always had this taking place in the chapel. We had some sacramental wine in there, so I think that this probably counts for your what it's called in vino veritas move Fujisawa, which is when you share the vulnerable move with another hunter, you may indulge in one of your vices and theirs at the same time. And both gain the additional benefit for indulging. So, in other words, you both get the chance to either discover a clue or invite the other hunter to ask a question about your past. You have to describe not only how you are vulnerable, but how you exult in excess. But I think we've probably seen that already. So yeah. If, as I said, you can both make the choice to discover a clue or invite the other person to ask a question about your past. So, Fujisawa, I'll throw over to you first.
I'll take the clue.
Excellent, and I'll give you a moment to think on that.
Mhm.
And Priyanka, if you again, you can discover another clue if you want, or you can invite Fujisawa to ask a question about your past.
I think I'm also going to take the clue. I think these two are more interested in looking forward at this point.
Awesome. That's great. I'll give you a couple of minutes to think on what you want those clues to be, and we'll go over to see Lady Camilla and the professor while this is going on. So yeah, Lady Camilla, professor.
I have an idea.
Yeah.
I'm thinking also late night after the Kilburn Abbey experience. I'm thinking that maybe they run into each other in the library of Hargrave House. I'm thinking about Aloysius Weiss. And yeah, what I see is Alois coming into the library, and he sees Lady Camilla in her dressing gown, with a candle lit next to her, and she's staring out the window, and she has a book in her hand, and she looks. Her expression is one of doubt and uncertainty. Not a common expression for her. Is that okay, Brian?
Sure.
As a start.
Lady Camilla, I'm usually the only one in such need of the company of books that I'm here in the library this late.
Alois. And she turns to you, and you can see kind of there's a little bit of redness around her eyes, as if she's maybe been crying or just has lack of sleep, who knows. Says, I had some difficulty sleeping tonight, which is a rarity for me. I was woken by a dream, and a dream of my own death. And it has unsettled me. I came here to the library looking for this, And she holds up the book. It was a gift from my late husband. The first edition of poetry by John Donne. It has sometimes been a solace to me in moments of difficulty. Something about our encounter with the demon of Kilburn Abbey has left me with a presentiment of doom. And I find myself without consolation in the words of this poet. She kind of hands the book over to Eloise.
I think Eloise takes it, but I imagine quotes a line from it from memory without opening it. That would be fitting. And says, dreams of death are common, and different people interpret it different ways. I wouldn't let's see, for instance, dream of death doesn't necessarily a portent of doom. I wouldn't overly concern yourself. And then maybe, yeah, thinks for a second and goes to a shelf and selects some other book. And let's see, what is the book? Yeah, I think it's just a book of fiction in which a character also like has these premonitions of doom for themselves, but where they signify, I don't know, just the ending of one chapter and the beginning of another. So maybe this will bring you more comfort.
So Lady Camilla takes the book and she kind of smiles at Eloise, and she runs her hand over the cover of the book. And she says, "It's kind of you, Eloise. I wonder, what do you think happens after death? Are you a man of religious beliefs or a man of science? Do you believe we simply cease to exist, annihilated? Or is there an afterlife?"
I think we've seen too much of what goes on in this world to think that there isn't more beyond.
Comforting, I suppose. Of course, some visions of the afterlife are quite horrific. Judgment and such. I have made mistakes in my life, Eloise. And if the preachers and the priests are to be believed, my afterlife, if such exists, may not be a pleasant one.
Well, that's not the fate waiting for you, I think, in my opinion. Infinite infinite punishment for finite crime seems unbalanced.
That is a very rational way of thinking about the issue, worthy of a professor. It's good to have your advice and solace in these moments. Although my presentiment of doom continues, I feel it in my belly. There is perhaps a ray of hope for me and for us yet in the challenges that come before us in the coming days. Good night to you, Professor. And thank you again. She takes her book and she walks out of the library with her candle. I think that might resolve my doubt.
Awesome,
And
yeah.
maybe your untrustworthiness at the same time, pretty directly.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good. And yeah, as it was your vulnerable scene, Bran, you can either choose to again discover a clue or invite Lady Camilla to ask you a question about your past.
Let's find a clue.
Cool. In which case, I'll give you a moment to think on that, and we'll go back around to Fujisawa. Have you decided what clue you've discovered?
Yeah, I think that as the camera sort of panned away from Fujisawa and Priyanka and up toward the stained glass windows, and out onto the sky of London, I think perhaps we see that the sky tonight is like this completely starless black void. And that's the clue.
Awesome. Thank you. And Priyanka, how about what clue do you discover?
When Priyanka returns to their quarters, we discover that the St. Petersburg mirror, the surface of the mirror has no longer held a solid form. The surface of it is rippling and roiling like mercury.
Nice, that's cool. And Professor, how about you? What clue do you discover?
Well, there was a rare book involved with the Watley camera that we then last session saw was back in the hands of that rare bookseller, and he was, I guess, in league now with Lucian. And wouldn't you know, there's another copy of that same book in the library at Hargrave House that Eloise never noticed until now.
Excellent. Brilliant. I think I'm just trying to remember back. I have a feeling it might have been like an unusual translation of the Divine Comedy, something along those lines. But yes, whatever it is, you will find it there. So, with that said, I think this does now make a good point for us to we have kind of a flashbacks to the night before, and you then see you around the breakfast table the next morning with Darius having just sort of outlined Lucian's plans. So I think with that, this probably does make a good opportunity for that first question to be answered. If someone wants to start coming up with a solution to that, or well, all of you together want to start coming up with a solution to that.
So
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so we have talked about kind of the final battle happening in the Fragrant Void. Is everybody still keen on that idea, or do we want to like do Westminster instead?
Yeah, it
The
feels like
void
we
sounds
ju-
good to me.
Yeah, the void sounds good. We just disrupted a ritual on the earthly plane at Kilburn Abbey, so maybe we need to disrupt one in the void this time. So when we answer this question, then I'm sorry. His ritual be more. So we have to say something about why we think it's going to be more vulnerable.
Yeah.
Why we think the clues tell us to go into the void, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, I feel like there's plenty of stuff here to indicate that it's, otherworldly in presence, and that we should also be otherworldly. I mean, the figure with the golden aura, the sky being completely starless, let's see.
I can imagine that the mirror is talking to Priyanka, somehow guiding her in, or welcoming her, or beckoning her. Maybe that's the right word. There's something about the mirror that is saying that this is the way in.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe, I mean, Fujisawa, you tell me, what was it like when you saw the starless heavens?
I really wish I had thought more about how this is going to lead us to the void. Let me think about that. I need to.
Okay. Sorry. You were going to say
Yeah.
something else, and I cut you off. So go for it.
No, it's fine. I was just looking at our mastermind clues. I feel like the signet ring of a golden falcon's head could also apply here, if we take it as an indication of Lucian's sort of mundane support in the mortal realm, like his society or whatever might represent another obstacle to us that might make the void a more appealing place to target the ritual.
Yeah, that kind of
Power.
like negative reinforcement, as it were. That's
yeah, exactly.
That makes sense. So what do we got so far? The signet ring, the St. Petersburg mirror, and the we got a bunch.
Yes, so I think
We don't want to use so many, do we? Oh no. Oh.
So that pushes us to a +2 right now.
That'll take you to a +2 at the moment.
I mean, +2 seems fine to me. Famous last words, right?
And I think that the starless sky might just be an indication that the sort of barrier between the fragrant void and our world is thinning, and thus like what we do in the void will have, a great effect on what's happening in the mortal realm and vice versa.
And all of these to some extent just mean it's just too late to take care of it here. Right? He's somehow connected over there already, and if we don't stop it there, he'll just gather power there and come back eventually.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that sounds good. So yeah, does someone want to volunteer to make the roll?
I have it already in the dice roller, so I'll just
let me get in there too.
press
I want
the
to see
button.
it. Wait, I want to see it.
Are we ready?
Where is
no,
it?
but do it anyway.
Do it anyway. Go ahead. You can just tell us.
That's an 8.
Okay. An 8, yeah. So on an 8, your answer is correct. there will be some complication with this. And I think probably what the complication is here is, I think that getting into the fragrant void is probably not going to be a straightforward process. You will have to find a way in, and successfully do so in order to do this. But you are correct. Once you've managed to get there, it will be vulnerable to assault from the astral plane, as it were. But yeah. So that said, so we'll what I think we'll do is we'll see about how this. Obviously, if you do all want to mark a mask to bump that to a straight 10+, in which case the process of getting in there will be a lot easier. But otherwise, if you're happy to press on with a slightly more difficult entry to the fragrant void, I think we can probably do that now and then take our first break.
I'm open to masks if anyone else is interested in it, but we might want to save it for. I don't know. It's up to you. I'm open to
I
it.
have so many masks to burn through at this point. Like I'm fine with it. Like, barreling towards destruction here.
I'm open to marking a mask.
Awesome. Yeah, if everyone's cool with marking a mask, then we can bump that up to a 10+. In which case, the actual process of entering the fragrant void, I'll still ask you for how you're going to go about that, but it will be fairly straightforward when you have your plan of attack. So yeah, if everyone wants to mark a mask of the past or the future, your choice as ever. I'll just go around quickly and get what people are going to mark. So, Lady Camilla, what are you going to go for, do you think?
No mask of the past.
Cool. And Fujisawa.
I also marked a mask of the past.
Cool. Priyanka.
I also marked a mask of the past.
Awesome. And Professor, how about you?
A mask of the past.
Excellent. So thank you. So yeah, so that goes up to a 10+. So your entry to the fragrant void will be relatively straightforward. But how do you think you are going to go about it? What's your plan to do this, or your theory on how you're going to go about this?
I have an idea based on what I said with the mirror. So we could always pour the mercury from the mirror into the fountain in the conservatory and turn the fountain into a portal into the fragrant void. I'm sure that there are some other very heavy sacrifices that we may need to make, but it's a convenient way to dive in.
Yeah, that sounds good. So I think all I will ask you to do there, in that case, Priyanka, is to just mark the St. Petersburg mirror in your personal quarters, and that will allow you entry to the fragrant void. So I think as you I suppose, actually, if you'd like to describe kind of the what it looks like as you open up this portal, and then I'll describe what it looks like once you get through onto the other side.
So, the hunters are gathered around this the fountain in the middle of the conservatory. It's a very cold night, and you can see the flowers are wilting around. And Priyanka holds the mirror as a vessel over the fountain, and then tips the mercury into it. And as soon as the chemical touches the water, the entire fountain starts to roil. The water quickly goes from clear to silver and bubbles and roils splashing over the edges of it, and then goes very still and very reflective, just like the surface of the mirror, except inside it is a spiral staircase that leads down into the depths.
Nice, nice. And yeah, I think as you all head down this spiral staircase, you start to get that kind of Escher style thing of sort of as you're going down the staircase, it almost seamlessly turns into you going up a spiral staircase, and then the spirals seem to curl back on each other, and before you know it, you are almost floating from this pool of silvery water below you. The void is you get that sense of being like kind of in a starscape kind of thing, but there are kind of pockets of light and seeming stability around the you can kind of see almost like these little spheres of light floating around you that seem to have reflections of the real world in them, maybe, or a real world. Exactly what they all are, you're not sure at the moment until you investigate further, but you can definitely see these things. You can get this sense that you can traverse this space, even though there doesn't appear to be any laws of physics or the like in effect at the moment. But you've kind of got that sense of intent and movement here, and that is kind of the situation that you will all find yourself in. And I think I'm going to ask a quick paint the scene question here. This will obviously be for each of you, and feel free to again just jump in any order as the thought occurs to you. But what unusual scent does we'll say air here to carry on it, and how does it make you feel?
I think Lady Camilla smells like this very dank, earthy, loamy kind of, yeah, like the jungle after a rain, that she associates with her time in Guyana. And what it makes her feel is wistful and kind of nostalgic.
Awesome, thank you.
Priyanka smells the scent of pomegranate and Darjeeling. It is a very subtle mixture of like the green powdery fragrance of the fruit, sweet tart, and intermingling with the heavy woody smell of the tea. And it reminds them of a moment years and years and years ago in a dark, dark study with a dark, dark entity. And it fills them with a sense of anticipation and fear.
Eloise smells the pipe that he shared with the man in the sun mask. And yeah, I think it makes him feel uneasy because he's just recently sworn off intoxicants. And yeah.
And I think for Fujisawa, there's a note of kind of this bitter, like burning smell, like wet wood being set aflame. And it's like this sudden gut punch of dread for her, and an undercurrent of guilt.
Awesome. Thank you very much. That's brilliant. Thank you, everyone. So yeah, we will now take our first break. Are people okay with 5 minutes, or do you want a bit longer? Yeah, cool. Yeah, see you back at 5 past then.